This is Algebra 1, Lesson 6C, Inserting Parentheses Mentally, Examples 6.5, 6.6, and 6.7. The first example here, 4 minus 3 plus 2, is the same as if I put each term or each number in parentheses and say this number is a number, this is a number, and this is a number. Or I can even do it like this. And then I insert plus sign in between them. That's going to be the same as 4 plus negative 3 plus positive 2. And I believe your book even went ahead and said, well, yeah, that's positive 4. So I'll do that too. Now let me erase my marks here so you can see what I did. I knew this was a positive 4, so I noted that here. And I inserted a plus, and then in parentheses, negative 3, plus a positive 2. Now, why do we do that? Well, sometimes they find it helpful to be able to not get the signs mixed up. And I think this can be very, very helpful because then it turns it to look like the problem we had in the last video. And what we could do from there is we could solve it the way we did in the last video. We could put our positives together. 4 and 2 is 6. And then bring down our plus negative 3. And we would say, wait, those have different signs. So I'm going to subtract their absolute values and get 3. Keep the sign of the one that has the largest absolute value, so it's positive. Sometimes when people are working with these, they have a hard time saying, well, is this a subtract or is this a negative? So this is one way to be able to tell and one way to do it consistently and treat it the same way each time. It seems to be there's less confusion. So let's try again with the second one. I'm going to read this negative 6. So that's negative 6. And then I'm going to insert a plus and put this in parentheses. Plus a negative 3. And then I'm going to insert a plus and put this in parentheses. Negative 2. And then I'm going to insert a plus and put this in parentheses. Oops, I put a minus. Plus 5. And then use the same strategy again where I combine positives and negatives. So let's combine our negatives first. 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11, and those are all the same sign, so it's all negative. It would be like going to the left 6, the left 3, and then the left 2, you end up on the left at 11. And then I add a positive 5. Now I've got to switch in directions on the number line. It's like I go to the left 11 and turn around and come back to the right 5. We learned in our rules that if you have two different signs that you're adding, you subtract their absolute values. So 11 minus 5 is 6, and you keep the sign of the one with the largest absolute value. Negative 11's absolute value is 11. It is 11 units from 0. So it's the largest absolute value, and we'll keep the negative sign. So our final answer for that one is negative 6. Let's try this method on a couple other problems, and this problem and some examples. We're going to rewrite it. We're going to put everything in parentheses and then insert plus signs between them. So that's going to be negative 4 plus positive 2 plus negative 3 plus negative 3 plus negative 2 plus positive 6. Just going to double check that. Negative 4, positive 2, negative 3, negative 3, negative 2, and positive 6. Now I can combine all my negatives. Here's a negative, here's a negative, here's a negative, and here's a negative. And you could do these two at a time if you wanted to. I've got the 4 and then 3. That makes a total of 7. Plus 3 more would be a total of 10. Plus 2 more would be a total of 12. And they're all negatives. So I have negative 12. Plus, let's go in and get all of our positives. We just have these two. A positive 2 and a positive 6 would give me a positive 8. And then I take these numbers, and since they are different signs, I'm going to subtract their absolute values. So 12 minus 8 is 4. Negative 12's absolute value is 12. It is larger than the absolute value of 8, which is 8. So I'm going to take the negative. And my final answer is negative 4. Here's example 6.5. Let's use the same strategy. Parentheses and put plus signs between everything. So we're going to say negative 4 plus negative 3 plus positive 2 plus negative 4 plus negative 3 plus negative 2. I'm going to put all our negatives together. So there's a 4 and a 3, which would make 7. And then another 4, so that's 11. And then this makes 14 with this 3. And this makes 16. So negative 16. They're all negatives, so it stays negative. And then I have a positive 2. Okay, so negative 16 plus positive 2. I have a negative and a positive, so I'm going to subtract their absolute values. So 16 minus 2 is 14. Negative 16's absolute value is 16. It is the largest absolute value, so it's going to keep the negative symbol. Example 6.6. I'm going to insert parentheses around all of the numbers. And then I'm going to rewrite it with plus signs between them. Oops. Okay, now I'm going to combine all my negatives and all my positives. So here's all the negatives. Negative 2 and negative 4 make negative 6. And then 2 more would be negative 8. Now I'm going to get my positives. I've got 11 and 3, which makes 14. Then these have different signs. I have a negative adding to a positive. So I'm going to subtract their absolute values. 14 minus 8 would give me 6. 14's absolute value is 14, and it's positive. The original number was, so I'm going to keep a positive. I went further to the right. The answer is positive 6. Last example, there's one little something different in this. Do you notice it? They already put a parenthesis in for us, but then they also put in an absolute value. Well, we got to be careful here because that's treated differently than a parenthesis. So let's start by dealing with the absolute value. This adds another step for us. They're saying how far is negative 2 from 0 on the number line? And we can answer that. We can say, well, it's 2 away. Let's go ahead and bring everything else down. And I'll say that's a positive 2. Now, let's treat this like the problems we just learned. Okay, so they're mixing an old problem with a new problem. Let's go in and put everything in parentheses. And then let's rewrite it with addition symbols between them. We already had one here. Okay, now let's combine all of our negatives, and then we'll combine all of our positives. So negative 4, and then we have a negative 7, which would be negative 11, and then 2 more, so negative 13. We went to the left that many. Now let's get our positives. We've got 2 and 3, so that's going to be a total of 5, and that's a positive, so we're going to add these two. So this is a negative 13 plus a positive 5. Their signs are different, so we're going to subtract them. 13 minus 5 is 8. Negative 13's absolute value is 13. and the absolute value of 5 is 5. 13 is bigger. So we're going to leave the negative symbol there, and it's at -8.